Right.
Yep.
We are live. Good to see you today, my EOS friends. Welcome back to the EOS Podcast. And today I have Neb. He's the founder and the CEO of Infiniverse, which is something really cool happening on EOS right now. So we'll get into that. First, Neb, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, it's great to be here. I'm Neb. I'm working on an EOS project in Infiniverse and really excited about EOS and the possibilities.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, welcome to the show. And I like to start just because things change so quick in EOS. So what's your favorite thing and the most interesting thing you think is going on right now in EOS in general?
I think definitely the recent announcement of I think it was $16 million VC funding into a company building games on EOS with former executives and employees from Activision and big AAA gaming studios. So that's really got me excited right now.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually read that article. Someone had tweeted it, and it really just keeps seeming like gaming is going to be the big breakthrough for EOS. So yeah, that looked cool. It looked like some of the people from Blizzard and like you said, some of the big gaming companies who have these AAA games. It's going to be cool to see. What do you think the most interesting application for blockchain within gaming is going to be?
It's just giving people real ownership of the assets that they create or earn in games, giving them the opportunity to trade these assets outside that game, perhaps to use it in some different games. I've heard people talking about some kind of games where you earn money every time you get points, or you kill another player, you lose money when you get killed. So really interesting ways of taking gaming to the next level like that.
Yeah, I know that when people would lose things in World of Warcraft and they'd freak out, but I imagine if there was some real serious money value attached to it, it could get even more competitive than it already is. It's kind of a wild concept. I also like the idea of people being able to take tools or weapons or anything between games. That gives the developers some interesting tool in their toolkit, as far as if they can look at all the games that are out there and all the items that are within games and possibly use those as crossovers into their own games. That could be kind of a cool application too.
Yeah, no, I mean, really excited about that for Infiniverse as well, which we can get into later. But just when you're releasing a game or something like that early on, and being able to immediately access this huge library that is already being used in other games, gives you a lot of possibilities, like straight on. Instead of having to build all the different items yourself or your own users, you can immediately trade in items from other worlds into your game, and that can really make things very exciting.
Yeah, it's almost like you're getting some crowdsourced items. That is exciting, and it'd be fun too. The nostalgia of having maybe some of your past video games that you played, bringing parts of those back into new games, and the character development. Whereas if I played Halo back in the day, and it would be cool to maybe be the guy who's always carrying around a battle rifle because Halo was my favorite game. So it's still whatever I'm playing today, maybe I'd be carrying around an old school, a retro battle rifle from Halo 2 or something, so
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool as we get more history of being able to carry items along with us. Those items will mean more to us. We might even have be passing them down to kids and things like that. It could be have some weird implications. Yeah, exactly. Your digital inheritance could be a thing.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, I saw you at the hackathon. We got to hang out too, which was cool. You were on Jake from the Dapp cast. You were on his hack team, right?
Team, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we worked on a decentralized version of Yelp where people are incentivized to write reviews, where companies can put up, restaurants can put up bounties to encourage users to write reviews, and also some economics to basically help reduce fake reviews and stuff like that. But it was really fun experience at the hackathon, seeing everyone working so hard and all the ideas. It was a fun time.
Yeah, it was cool seeing. That was my favorite part. Was just meeting so many people in person. Yeah, and I keep repeating the thing that Dan said at the hackathon was that we don't need to invent a bunch of new dApps. We just need to put dApps that are already out there onto the blockchain. And so that's, like you're saying, Yelp, except for on the EOS blockchain. There's a lot of ideas waiting to be cherry picked out there that will eventually start turning the corner. And I think probably a lot of these companies will just, maybe Yelp will just put themselves on the blockchain at some point, or just some little pieces of it.
Yeah, maybe.
So we'll see what the next couple
I really appreciate all the work Block One went into organizing these hackathons, and I hope they'll continue doing them. But one thing I really learned about these hackathons is that it's really 90% about the pitch, the idea, how you present it. In the top 10 finalists, there were a couple that didn't even have a working code, Mm-hmm. So it really is mostly about the pitch and how you present it. So next time, I think, if I do another hackathon like that, I'll focus a lot more on that part rather than the actual code.
Yeah, that's true. That would be probably part of my advice if I was a mentor again. The other thing that turned out to be funny is there's a $3,000 cash prize for the best UX, and I was part of the judging team for the best UX, and there was almost no UX, to be honest. Like, there was like the teams that won just had like a couple screenshots of like what the walkthrough was going to look like, but it was very minimal. And a team that came in and put just a lot of time into UX could have won that prize really easily. So like you're saying, a hack for the hackathon is to go after the UX and go after the pitch, and go after the nuts and bolts of the idea, but not actually spend all your time building the back end, I think. So
yeah, totally.
Have you been to other hackathons?
Actually, I went to the London hackathon, the EOS London hackathon.
Okay.
So
yeah, I wonder if that's the case outside. Yeah, I wonder if that's the case outside of the EOS ecosystem, or
yeah, I mean, I heard from others after this one, others who've done other non-EOS hackathons, that it's a similar kind of thing, that really the pitch is really important, and the code, the demo, you have very little time to really show it. So as long as there's something there that kind of looks like something is going on, then you'll be fine. So really just focus on the idea of the pitch.
That makes sense. Cool. Well, video games being the next big thing, you happen to be building Infiniverse, and the reason that you're on the show is that you demoed it for me at the hackathon, and it was really cool, super interesting, and so I invited you on the show when I saw you there, or actually when you showed me that Dapp, I was like, okay, you got to come on the show and talk about this. Why don't you give people a brief explanation of what it is?
Absolutely. So Infiniverse, it's an augmented reality platform which allows us to create a virtual world on top of the real world. So some people might have heard of High Fidelity, which is a virtual reality app which got 35 million in EOS VC funding. And so what we're doing is, so they're building a virtual world in VR. So that means you sit at home, you use your VR goggles, and you completely immerse yourself in a virtual world. What we're doing is we're taking a virtual world and putting it on top of the real world. So users go outside, they take their smartphones and later smart glasses, and they experience this digital layer on top of the real world. So users can buy land, which is the digital layer of real world locations. They can place persistent content there. Other users can see what they've placed. They can interact with it. Users can trade their land with each other. They can rent out land to other users, trade their digital assets. And so it's all about combining the entire world's digital space into this one virtual world. So, I've been working in augmented reality for 5 years professionally, and I love AR. But the problem is you've got all these great AR apps coming out, but you can only use them one at a time, right? So, people love Pokemon Go, they play Pokemon Go, and that's fine. But we want to combine all this augmented reality content into this one world where, content and games from all different kinds of apps can all interact together and coexist in the same space. So, that's what we're doing. We're augmenting the entire world.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So the demo that you showed me, I basically got to hold down a button and highlight a portion of the land, and it ended up being like one of the aisleways within the hackathon, and then that turned green, showing that I owned it, and then I was able to take items and put them onto my land, and then when you walk by from different angles, that's all that's all sitting there kind of in a piece of virtual real estate. So what's when you're buying that first strip of land, or is that a purchase, or how's that going to work, and how much can you get? And can you get whole buildings?
So first of all, what I showed you, we were indoors. So normally you have to use this app outdoors, but I was simulating the position there so I could demo to people while we were, inside in the hackathon.
Okay.
So normally you got to be outside so that we can get your position, your orientation in the world from your GPS sensor. And so the way land registration works is basically, I like to compare it to domain registration. So you pay some fee in Infinicoin depending on the number of square meters of land you're registering, and that's a yearly registration fee. So, but once you've registered it, then you have the right to sell it to other people or to rent it to other people to whatever price you decide or the market decides, as long as you pay that yearly registration fee when the time comes. So, and that just ensures that people aren't basically hoarding land, that they're only registering land that they're actually going to make use of. Otherwise, the whole world can become registered pretty quickly, and if people aren't doing anything on there, it can just ruin the whole experience of Infiniverse.
So what's like the big picture goal here? Like, let's say a couple of years from now, people have been registering land and they've been putting items on that land, and it's all, let's say that San Francisco is a good example. Let's say a lot of the different areas in San Francisco are now registered and built on. What's that look like for the user? What's the use case?
Okay. So for the user, it's basically, they get to experience this exciting, vibrant, diverse digital world on top of the real world. So, I imagine, people might be excited to go to the city center and check out what's going on in the shops, what's selling in the markets. I imagine people to be excited to check out what's going on in the digital layer. What kind of cool stuff can they see there? What can they interact with? What can they purchase from it? What can they, so there'll be all kinds of different things there, whatever people can imagine. There could be digital shops there. There could be just some kinds of cool experiences. A musician could create a digital version of himself that plays music for people somewhere, and either is selling his digital music right there, or asking for tips or something like that. So just building on top of the real world with this digital layer that's full of exciting and interesting things for people to do and experience. And it can be many kinds of things. So it could be games and entertainment related things. So instead of other AR titles, like I mentioned Pokemon Go, where you're just experiencing one kind of theme, here you could experience all different kinds of themes all coexisting and interacting together, whatever the users have decided to create and upload onto Infiniverse. Or, when it reaches a solid user base, people might put up some kinds of ads or some of their own artwork or something to get exposure to it. People could put up some kinds of educational, historical experiences. Like I always imagine someone might put up some gladiators in the Colosseum, for example, fighting, and then you could come and interact with them in some way. So it's just creating this crazy, diverse digital layer all over the real world, which is all connected and interacting together.
Yeah, that's interesting to think of it just as another human interaction layer. For the same reason someone might walk around Golden Gate Park in San Francisco and look at the sights and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's this extra layer of possibly history, possibly art, possibly just people messing around doing funny things. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So it seems like it's going to be seems like it'd be more relevant in higher density population areas. Obviously, at first, people are going to want bigger locations with higher traffic and.
Yeah, exactly. That's where people are going to be, looking to get land, because that's where people are walking around and that's where their land content will get exposure to. So we definitely expect it'll be something that has a lot of basically hubs of activity, metropolitan areas of cities and stuff like that. But we also want in the future to allow people to be able to visit real locations in VR. So, you'll have a bunch of people, let's say out in Golden Gate Park doing stuff there. And then other people can be at home in their VR device visiting virtually that real areas. I don't know if you've seen Google Earth VR.
I haven't, no.
Okay, so basically Google has, they have their Street View maps and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they have this app where you can visit anywhere in the world where they have maps, as if you're, in that location.
That's right. Fantastic. Okay.
So we'd love to be able to do something like that, where someone can actually visit a real world area virtually, and then adding on top all the digital content that's there as well.
Wow. Okay. And so, are you currently integrated with Google Maps? Is that your integration?
Not in the AR app. We're not using Google Maps. So the way it works is the user on their smartphone, they using the camera on the smartphone, it just displays what the phone's camera sees, and then it adds digital objects on top of that.
And then go ahead.
How does it know your position?
Yeah, how does it know your position?
Yeah, so we're just taking the GPS measurements the phone gets and the compass measurements and doing some calculations, and
okay.
That way we know their position in the world, and then we load up from the blockchain from EOS. We load up all the land locations that are nearby, and then we display those and the content that's on them.
So basically, anywhere that your cell phone is pinging GPS coordinates, you'll be able to purchase digital land.
Yes, but so you can register land with your phone by going to the real world location. You can also register land using our online tool. So where next week when the land auction starts, people will be able to go on our website, and they will be connected to Google Maps this time. They can basically drag a rectangle anywhere they want and register land there.
Oh wow! Okay.
So actually, in the first week, it'll be an auction. So the most valuable lands, as I mentioned, go to the highest bidders. But after the 1 week auction, all the remaining lands in the world, basically instantly registerable.
So you're not going to have to actually physically go to these locations to register land. You'll be able to do it remotely in the beginning.
Yeah. So initially we were planning to make it that you have to be in that location. And, I was thinking it would be cool that the locals get the first chance to register land in their area. But the problem is that GPS can be easily spoofed on mobile phones. So it'll be easy for a user that knows what they're doing to basically pretend they're someone else. And then what that does is it puts players on an uneven playing field. So you have the more technically capable who can get land anywhere in the world, and you have the less technically capable that can't do that. So instead, we're putting everyone on an even playing field. Everyone can use the website to register land anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So in a few months, there are a few projects that are working on actually decentralized blockchain-based proof of location.
Mm-hmm.
There's Platon, there's XYO, there's Foamspace, but this technology isn't yet ready at this time. So
Yeah, I saw Platon at the they were at the hackathon, and
yeah,
that proof of location, because GPS is so easy to spoof, is going to be big. There's some apps that require some sort of legit proof of location, and so when they kind of solve that problem, that'll be a big one. Another tool for developers. That'll be great.
yeah, exactly. Even for Infiniverse, it's going to be really important because, I imagine some people might create some kind of digital asset that others can collect by going to a real world location. For example, someone might put some kind of trophy prize on the top of Mount Everest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go there to collect it, some kind of badge, And so we would need proof of location for that. Another really important reason why we need proof of location is, so in Infiniverse, there's persistent content, which is stuff you place on land. It stays there wherever you go. And there's attached content. So attached content is stuff that you put around yourself. It follows you in the world.
Okay.
But when you quit the app, it also leaves the world.
Okay.
And so if people can fake their location, they could place some attached content around themselves and then fake their GPS to be somewhere where they're not, and then just keep their app always running in that location. And then basically they would be having what's essentially persistent content without having paid for the land. So that's why, proof of location is something really important to us. And once we get that tech, we'd also love to do like a promotion where we put Infinicoin at some locations around the world, and first one that gets there gets the prize.
Oh my gosh, how fun would that be? That'd be like
Yeah.
ultimate. What was that called? Cicada 3641 or something. Are you familiar with that internet?
No.
Okay. Well, it's like this. It was like this internet cipher that went out, and it's just a huge mystery, but basically had people like deciphering codes and old ancient scripts and traveling all over the world kind of to try to decipher what this was, and then to become part of like some sort of secret society, or maybe even part of the CIA, who knows. But yeah, it's Circada something. It's a cool little internet part of the dark web. But anyway, on that note, the opportunity for some sort of cool scavenger hunt where you're
absolutely
leading people on to some sort of prize. And just how creative people would be able to get with something like that. That'll be pretty cool. Yeah. Wow. Okay. What do you see as far as, is your company planning to develop the VR world, or are you looking for possibly a company down the road to integrate a VR with what you're doing?
So we're creating the platform. All the actual content is created by the users, right? So, we want everyone to jump on board, start creating content, selling stuff on the marketplace that other users can grab, putting stuff around on land. And, we'd also love to, at some point, get some bigger companies jumping on board to, put some of their really interesting licensed content, which I guess without their permission, probably other users technically aren't allowed to put that kind of stuff, from like Marvel or whatever kind of cool, interesting worlds. It'll be awesome to get those companies actually on board and licensing their content onto Infiniverse.
Yeah, it seems like people probably would build around places that are being built on by big. I mean, I guess it would be something like what happened on Decentraland, where on Decentraland, maybe Bittrex bought a big chunk, and people wanted pieces all around whatever Bittrex had. Yeah. Are you familiar with Decentraland? And do you know any of like,
So,
do you know any of the kind of big players who stepped in there and were interested in that?
no, I'm not sure who was buying up the land and stuff there.
Yeah, I didn't follow that real closely, but I mean, just loosely,
I know there was a BBC article on them a few months ago where about some people paying, you know, like hundreds of thousands of dollars for some pieces of virtual land there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, this is completely virtual land where you can do whatever you want with, where on the other hand, allowing people to register digital space of the real world. So they're both interesting, exciting. We'll see what people are into more.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're comparable ideas. They're just, you know, I think having the AR and having some sort of real world place attached to it is really an interesting take on that, because people are going to want something near the Golden Gate Bridge or on the Golden Gate Bridge, and you know,
Yeah.
it gives more of for me, Decentraland was so abstract. I couldn't necessarily wrap my head around why I would want one piece of property more than another. And that slowed me down on making purchases and getting too into it. Whereas if it's in the real world, like I know what a real valuable area would be, or, you know, what I would judge it to be. It's more, makes more sense intuitively, I think. So. What other companies are out there doing this? Is there other AR or VR virtual land auctions that have gone on or that are coming up?
Yeah, so, you know, in terms of VR ones, other than Decentraland that you mentioned, you know, High Fidelity is doing a similar kind of world. I'm not sure if they're going to have a land auction, or I'm not too sure. There was a Mossland, which is kind of like a Monopoly game in the real world. And, you know, there's a couple of projects doing similar AR ones, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything else on EOS. So they're all Ethereum-based projects, and to be honest, I'm not sure how they'll manage to operate with the current state of Ethereum. You know, the reason we picked EOS is because what we're building is really a real-time app. You know, when people go out and buy some land, or they want to unlock some experience, they need immediate feedback. You know, they're not going to sit there waiting for a few minutes for the transaction to be confirmed. If they're paying for a microtransaction, you know, a really small fee to unlock something, they don't want to pay double with the transaction fee on the network. And so for us, EOS really makes a lot of sense, and we couldn't have done it without it.
Mm-hmm. What's the cost of land? Like, you probably don't control it all the way through, obviously, but what's it start at? What's like an example of how much a chunk of land costs?
So land will be priced, so the registration fee will be priced in a number of Infinity Coin per square meter. So we're still deciding the exact number that'll be. You know, might be 1 or 10 Infinity Coin per square meter, for example, and that's a registration fee. And then once the user has registered it, they can sell it or rent it to other users for whatever the market decides. So, you know, now that Infinicoin hasn't been released yet and there's no price for that, it's hard to say exactly how much land will cost. But, you know, the price of Infinicoin will probably be based on what the registration fee for land is. So at the end of the day, the market will come to a fair price for it.
Okay. And you said that at the beginning it's going to be an auction, and then later on it's going to be just you can register.
Exactly.
How's the auction work?
So the auction is going to be for the first week. So users select the land they want, but instead of registering it, they bid on it. So starting from the base registration fee, which let's say if it's 10 Infinity Coin per square meter, so they make a bid for that price depending on the number of square meters they've chosen. And then in that week, anyone else that wants that land or a larger piece of land that includes that land, they bid, you know, 1 extra Infinity Coin per square meter for the area that they've selected. And then after 1 week, any land that isn't yet registered is instantly registerable using the base registration price. And then lands that have been bid on will become registered once there's been no higher bid for 24 hours on those particular lands.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's not like
the EOS name auction where only one is awarded every 24 hours. Here it's every particular land. If it doesn't get bid on within 24 hours, it's awarded.
Cool. So that keeps someone from waiting for the last minute, bidding it and taking it. Basically, gives everyone a chance to get their bid in or watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Man, I'm thinking of some places that I'm going to try to get. It'll be fun. So will there be a list of will there be a list of bids, and will it be like the name of the location? For example, Mount Everest. Would Mount Everest say Mount Everest, or would it be some sort of GPS locations in a list with a bid next to it?
So basically, you just go on our website, which we'll release this pod next week after the airdrop, and it's basically just a big Google map, and you can see a little marker and the square anywhere where anyone has bid on land, and then you just zoom in. You see how much they've bid on it, and then you can click on it and bid on top of it, or you can drag your own rectangle wherever you want to create a fresh new bid, or you can drag a rectangle that covers an existing rectangle and more, and then bid on top of their bid plus the extra amount you've selected.
And is it it's based on square footage? I mean, is there's like a standard, you get a 10 by 10 chunk for a certain amount? Is that how it works, or how's the?
Yeah, so it's, I mean, I operate in meters, not feet, but it's, as I said, so it's based on square meters. So okay. You pay the fee you pay. So you're bidding on a certain number of Infinicoin per square meter.
Okay, per square meter.
So the bigger amount of square meters you select, the more you have to pay for that land, and then the more people bid on top for the amount of Infinicoin per square meter, then more again.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to go down to my my friends in Rio, EOS Rio, the block producers down there. I'm going to go put a giant soccer field outside their office, and then I'm going to put Maradona from Argentina. I'm going to put him playing soccer out front there. So
you must really hate them.
That just sounds like a fun practical joke. That might backfire though. That might not be such a good one. Yeah, but this could be pretty interesting ideas. All kinds of fun people could have. Okay, cool. Well, what is there anything we kind of overlooked here, or anything that maybe we didn't explain fully as far as how your app works, or what's going to happen next?
I think we covered the main points. So next week the airdrop happens. If you haven't, sign up for the air grab. That'll double your allocation from 0.5 to 1 to 1-to-1 ratio. And then, immediately the land auction will start. People that need more Infinicoin to register bigger lands or bid on particularly popular lands will need to hit the exchanges, get more Infinicoin. And then
Sorry, we cut out there again. So we cut out there for a second. So you, excuse me, you said that next week it opens and that people need to register. Could you explain the registering again? I think you said that 0.5 to 1.1 or to 1.
So people that complete the air grab, which basically allocates the RAM on their EOS account for the token, they will get a 1-to-1 airdrop. So they have to do that before the 26th of November. Everyone who doesn't do the airdrop, they will get a 0.5 to 1 airdrop of Infinicoin if they have at least 100 EOS.
Okay.
And it's also going to be subject to a max cap as well.
Okay. And where do they find the air grab? Is that on infiniverse.io?
No, so our website is infiniverse.net actually, but the air grab, they can find it on EOS Toolkit. So in the air grab section of EOS Toolkit, it's also available in the Meet One and Token Pocket wallets. It's also on the blocks.io block explorer. Perfect.
Well, I will do mine in the EOS Toolkit air grab because that's been an easy one for me to use in the past. So
Yeah,
cool.
great.
I'll go make that.
So yeah, I was saying after that we launched the AR app. When the land auction ends, we will launch the AR app on Android and iOS. So you'll need either iOS 6s or above, iPhone 6s or above, or you'll need a modern Android smartphone which supports AR cores such as Samsung S7 and above, Google Pixel. There's a whole list on the Google website of phones that support AR core.
Okay.
And then, so people will be able to place digital content on their land. So initially, we're connecting with Google Poly. That's a asset database of free 3D models, so that they'll be able to find stuff from there, search for it, and put whatever they want from there. And then the next step in Q1 is for us to basically create a tool for people to upload their own custom 3D models and launch the marketplace, so people can find stuff on the Infiniverse marketplace to place on their land. And so, initially it's just static 3D models, and then later this will be animated models, and then even interactive experiences. So like mini apps and mini games, and we're going to create an SDK for people to create these interactive things.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing where this one goes, and I wish you guys some fun times. I'll be playing with this one. I like the idea. So I'm going to get a couple spots in Santa Cruz, probably the ones that won't be super popular, but I'll like them. So that'll be cool. All right. Well, you've told people where to find you and kind of how to get a hold of the airdrop and air grab. So any closing thoughts here for the EOS podcast listeners?
Yeah. So look, as I mentioned, we're just building the platform, and Infiniverse will be nothing without all the users that create all the content that actually design this world. So, please join us. Please check it out, and let's create this new world together.
There we are. Create the new world together. Well, thanks for listening, my EOS podcast friends, and thank you for coming on the show, Neb. It was a pleasure to speak with you. And until next time, cheers.
All right. So here we are. I'm out here in the yard, and I'm just going to register some land here. So I'm going to select this button on the left, and now it shows up my balance. And when I'm happy with where I want to start the selection from, I'm going to click on Start Selection. And now each one of these is a square meter. So currently here it's priced as 10 Infinity coin per square meter. And so I'm just going to select by looking with my phone how much land I want. And I'm going to take these 12 square meters. I'm going to click on Confirm Selection. Take another look. If I'm happy with that, I'm going to click on Register Land. So this is running on Jungle Network right now, and in 2 weeks it'll be on the mainnet. And here we are. Jungle Network has just confirmed that purchase, and now I can place here whatever I want. So I'm going to click on this button here, and now I'm going to search for dinosaur, and let's see what they've got. All right, this one looks pretty cool. Okay, and now I've placed it. I can walk around it. I can select it, and with my 2 fingers, I can scale it, or I can rotate it. I can move it around the land. And, now anyone that comes to this location, they would see that I own this land, I've registered this land, and the dinosaur or whatever I decide to place here.
Cool.
And so, now we can create this digital layer on top of the real world where there's just content all around the world. So we hope that, we'll be augmenting the entire world and just creating this new layer for us all to experience.
Money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is just